My father asked me to stay away from my brother because of old conflicts, and I feel trapped between their love and my rights. At first, I thought he was just angry in the moment, but with time, I realized he was serious. He truly wanted me to cut ties with my brother as if years of shared memories, laughter, and blood could simply be erased with one demand. My brother and I grew up side by side. We fought over toys, shared secrets, and defended each other at school. He was more than a sibling. He was my closest friend. But somewhere along the way, his relationship with my dad broke. I don't know all the details because both of them refused to tell me the full story. I only hear fragments. My dad talking about betrayal, irresponsibility, and disrespect, while my brother talks about control, unfair judgment, and how he was never truly accepted for who he is. Now, years later, the tension hasn't healed. Instead, it has hardened into something like a silent war. My father speaks of him with bitterness, as though even mentioning his name leaves a bad taste in his mouth. My brother, on the other hand, avoids talking about my father altogether, except when the pain slips through and he whispers, "You know he never gave me a chance." For me, the hardest part is being in the middle. My dad says, "If you respect me, then you will stay away from him. A son should honor his father." Those words cut deeply, because honoring him has always been part of who I am. But my brother says, "I only have you left. Don't let him take you away from me too." And those words crush me in a completely different way, because I can feel how lonely he is, how much he relies on me to be his last connection to family. I feel like I'm walking on a thin line every single day. When I'm with my dad, I have to hide the fact that I still talk to my brother. When I'm with my brother, I try not to mention the pain my dad carries. It's exhausting, like living two separate lives that can never meet. I wonder sometimes if I'm being selfish, trying to keep both of them in my life, when maybe the reality is that I'll eventually lose one no matter what I do. Late at night, when everything is quiet, I think back to our childhood dinners at the same table before the conflict began. My dad would tell stories, my brother would laugh too loud, and I would feel safe between them. Now, that memory feels like another lifetime, something fragile and unreachable. I keep asking myself, is it my responsibility to fix what's broken? Or am I just setting myself up for more heartbreak? The more I try to find an answer, the heavier it becomes. It feels unfair, being asked to choose between the two people who shaped my world. And yet, here I am, caught in the middle of a conflict that doesn't belong to me but controls my every decision. The pressure from both sides keeps growing, and I feel like I'm slowly being crushed under the weight of their expectations. Every phone call with my father eventually circles back to the same message. Your brother made his choices. If you don't cut him off, you'll end up just like him. He says it with a tone of finality, as if it's not advice but an order. And if I disobey, I risk losing his respect entirely. But my brother's calls are different. He doesn't demand loyalty in the same way, but I can sense the desperation in his voice. He tells me stories of his loneliness, how he feels like he's been exiled from his own family, how he still remembers the day my dad told him to leave the house. He doesn't admit it directly, but I can hear it between his words. He's afraid I'll abandon him too, and then he'll truly have no one left. Being in the middle is unbearable. I'm constantly hiding pieces of myself. When I spend time with my dad, I have to act as though my brother no longer exists in my life. When I visit my brother, I avoid mentioning my father altogether. It's like I'm living in two parallel realities that can never touch. And the guilt eats me alive, because I know that if either of them finds out the full truth, that I'm trying to stay connected to both, it will only deepen the conflict. I've tried to talk to them, to reason with them. I've told my dad that holding on to anger forever won't bring peace, that maybe forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, but at least trying to move forward. He shuts me down immediately, saying, "You don't know what he did. Don't speak of things you don't understand. And with my brother, I've tried to encourage him to reach out, to make the first move, to show my dad that he's changed. But he just shakes his head and says, "I've tried before." He'll never listen. Some nights I imagine what it would be like if they both walked into the same room again. Would they yell? Would they sit in silence? Or maybe, just maybe, would they see how much this war is destroying not only themselves but also me? The thought haunts me, because I keep hoping for a miracle that feels more and more impossible as time goes on. And then there's me. I've started questioning who I am outside of their conflict. Am I my father's loyal son, who follows his wishes no matter how painful? Or am I my brother's last defender, the only one who still believes in him? Or am I simply someone too weak to take a stand, paralyzed by fear of losing one while clinging to both? I don't have answers. All I know is that every day feels heavier than the one before, and I'm running out of ways to keep the balance. The silence between my father and my brother has lasted for years, but now it feels like it's slowly pulling me under, dragging me into a place where I can't breathe. In the end, I had to accept a painful truth. I could not heal wounds that were never mine to begin with. I loved my father and I loved my brother, but their war was theirs, not mine. For so long I believed it was my responsibility to hold them together, to be the bridge between two broken hearts. But a bridge can only carry so much weight before it begins to crumble. I decided to step back, not because I chose one over the other, but because I finally chose myself. I will always carry love for both of them, and I will always be open if either one decides to rebuild. But I can't keep sacrificing my peace, my identity, just to hold together a family that refuses to heal. It hurts. It always will. I still dream of the day they might sit at the same table again. But until that day comes, I will keep moving forward, holding on to the hope that love, in its own time, might succeed where I failed. And so, our story comes to an end today. But in the world of Max fables, every tale carries a lesson and leaves an impact. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you won't miss our upcoming tales. Here, where stories come to life.